good at relaying the information to any level player, Bet on Drew is it's the stone cold nuts right there, man.
I
The man
agree.
knows what he's doing. He knows how to get that information and tweak it so that you understand it the way your mind works. So I had some coaching from Drew. I made some adjustments from there. I then joined Upswing Poker because of All in Pav, who I watch a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Upswing is where I've started to take off a little bit. I've made some adjustments in my games where I started to notice that I was playing way, way, way too tight.
Hmm.
I've made jokes before about how I'm kind of a nit, but I never realized how tight I actually was. So I've definitely opened my game, and I just have a way better understanding of the game now than I did before.
Hey, Stealth,
And
back up for me for a second. Like, back up like 6 to 12 inches. Like, you're a little dark.
no,
I don't know if that's or like I think it's the
no,
window behind you. You stick your
let me
arms
see.
up and it gets really bright, and then you bring your arms down and it gets dark again. I don't know if your camera's like adjusting.
Let me see.
They want
I
to.
think it
They want.
might. I think it might.
They
They want
want
to
to.
actually see my face.
They want to see you're sexy, man. They. There
There he
you go.
is.
There we go. Now
That
it's
might
good.
help a little bit.
Yeah, that helps a ton. Yeah. So curious. With the being having that much experience in sit and goes, like, what is your take on the sit and go environment? I mean, I know people say poker's dead. People say poker's dead all over the place, which is ridiculous. It's not even words to dead. But a lot of
Mhm.
people say that sit and goes are dead. They're solved. The math is gone. There's not a lot of edge to them. So, what's your experience as far as that? Like, are you still finding edge? Are you? I look.
Um,
I know you don't want to brag on yourself, but I mean, is there edge because you're like really, really elite, or is there just really still a lot of edge and value in sit and goes, and people just aren't playing them anymore?
um, so the problem with singles, especially when you talk about ACR, is basically you're play. I play six max, so I'm playing a six max, and I'm sitting there with four other regs. So it's not as profitable, obviously, as it used to be. One of the greater things PokerStars had that I wish ACR had was you could tag people in the lobby, so you could kind of find yourself a profitable game. Can't really do that on ACR. You kind of have to know who everybody is already. So the single, I wouldn't say it's dead, but it's definitely way, way tougher than it used to be. You're gonna have to get in there and do battle with maybe three, four regs. You just have to hope you have an edge. I mean, with all the poker software that's out there now with PT4 and Hold'em Manager, if you really dive deep into those, you can find some edge even against some of the better regs. So I wouldn't say I'm elite as far as singles. I feel like I'm very capable. So far in the year, I think I was like top five or something on Shark Scope for 33 $33 six max. So I still do think I have an edge over some of the field, but I wouldn't go to the levels of saying I'm elite. But as you said, singles are starting to kind of die down a little bit, which is kind of disappointing. And it's mainly because there's just not enough people playing singles. Everybody's has migrated towards MTTs, and I mean for the obvious reasons. I mean you can play a $66 MTT and maybe being 13K. So,
That
you
might be a
know,
thing. That might be a
that
thing,
might
right?
be a thing. That might be a thing. That might get people to stop playing singles.
So, prior to 2 weeks ago, or let's just say 2 weeks ago, before the big score, what was your biggest score before that event?
My biggest score was just under 6K. I won
Okay.
that when I was playing on Full Tilt back in the day.
Yeah.
So that was my biggest one. My biggest one on ACR before then was 4K. So,
Take us through that. Take us through that whole experience. Some people have never had the opportunity to do that. Obviously, we all dream of doing it. A lot of us are in tournaments today, hoping to do it. But just take us through the whole experience from start to finish, like your emotions, key hands. Like just let us hang from your coattails for a minute and bring us through what that journey was like.
okay. So the first funny part is I didn't even intend on playing that event. Uh, I was already firing a bunch. I was firing a lot of the smaller events, and I saw the $66 60K, and I was like, ah. So I late regged it with I believe 20 bigs.
Wow.
I decided to late reg it, and I was short for a good while. I picked up a couple doubles, and I was just kind of coasting along. Wasn't having anything big happen. Um, what was the big hand? I got into a big hand where I bluffed a regular. Um, for about a 30K pot, which got me going. And then I won a big pot against a Twitch hero, Gone Bananas.
Mm-hmm.
I won a big one against him, blind versus blind, just a standard spot with ace queen. That got me a good stack going into late reg. Um, Pretty much was coasting along. Picked up kings that I ran into jacks, and I got a big hold. So I was sitting third of like 150. So at that point, it's like we're already in the money. It's getting kind of real. Um, so we're coasting, we're coasting, we're coasting. We get down to, let's say, the final 60. I'm sitting with like from 60 on, I was 10. I never got above 20 big blinds. From 60 until we got to the final table, I was from 10 to 20 blinds the entire time. Sometimes I was even sub 10. So that's where some of that sit and go experience comes into mind. I don't mind playing really short. I feel like my push fold game is pretty solid because of sit and goes. So we just grinded. We made some crazy tight folds. It was crazy, but I think that's where it comes. We talk about turbos that I play a lot. I think that's where it comes into mind, where the shallowness of the stack depths plays a role. Like, yeah, I've got 9 bigs, but if I double, I'm gonna go from 17 of 18 to 2nd of 18. So that's something I keep in mind while I'm playing those turbos. Yeah, hey, I got 7 bigs, I got to get it in soon. But you got to realize that that 7 big double up is gonna shoot you towards the top of the standings there. So it's better to find that ideal spot. So we folded a lot of definitely shovable hands that we would just snap shove in. But when you get that deep, you start to maybe tighten up a little bit. But I think it was actually the right thing to do. So we squeezed into the final table, and just we hit a river blind versus ace 6 versus ace 5. We had the chop going to the river, and we binked a 5 to actually scoop the pot.
Nice.
We called off a king queen hand with ace 9. We held there. Then we got 3-handed. We had a 3-handed spot where shout out to the man Chris Perkins. He was in my chat, and there was a spot where I had 7s in the big, and the guy on the button for 20 bigs open jammed. So we thought about it a little bit, and we actually called off with the 7s for the 20 bigs, and we held there to get heads up. And then we just grinded the guy heads up. Heads up's not our strongest game, but we got a good spot where we triple barrel got value from the guy with 3 jacks.
Yeah.
And then the final hand, he jammed like 7 bigs with 7-9 off, and we called with 6s, held, took a shot of whiskey out of a bottle. We danced a little bit. It was a good time. We danced. We did some giveaways. It was an unreal moment. Like the whole thing. I ran pretty pure at that final table. I won every all in. I didn't lose an all in at the final table.
I mean, it's kind of what has to happen, right? Like, I think sometimes we get to final tables or we get on deep runs and we think, I don't want to say we think we have control, like, because there's definitely ways we can screw up, but like at the end of the day, you know, the 10 times you go to a final table, it's the reason you win too is because you put yourself in the position 10 times and you ran pure those 2 times. It's not because, like, you know, you just have this massive edge over everybody else playing a 15 big blind stack. And the number of tournaments we get to play where we have an average stack of 30 or 40 big blinds at a final table just aren't, it happens, but not often, right?
Right.
So it's just, I mean, that's part of it, but it's getting in that position that's where all the skill edge, I think, comes in.
So it's funny because I had been making a lot of final tables lately and getting a lot of 7s, 9s, 6. It was starting to get frustrating. I know I posted some stuff on Twitter that was starting to wonder if I was
you just defined the last 2 weeks of my poker. Like, I feel you, man.
Yeah, it's like I'm getting there, and I feel like, and I'm getting it in good spots, and it's just not holding for me. I'm getting in ace king versus ace 9, and the 9's always coming. It started to get in my mind, like, am I doing something wrong? And I started reviewing my hands, and I'm like, why are you questioning yourself? You're getting in ace king versus ace 9. Yeah. Like, you're getting in aces versus 5s, and he's hitting a 5. I mean, such is life. So it was funny because a buddy of mine was telling me, he's like, oh, you got a big one coming soon. I was like, man, I hope you're right. I'm making final tables. I'm making money. I'm doing okay, but I haven't got that big one yet.
Yeah.
and that one happened that night. It felt amazing. I'm kind of sad that I wasn't recording it because now I have no
I
video
know.
evidence because I was streaming it, which was funny. Be, that was my third stream. On all three streams, I made a final table, so the stream run good might be real.
So when did the stream flick on? At what point did you kick the stream on, and what was the stream experience like?
So I took some personal time from work. I do have a regular job. I'm an assistant manager at Walgreens. So I took a month leave to
Oh
kind of
wow.
give the whole poker and streaming a chance while I was doing some other stuff on the side as well. But I was going to take this opportunity with my time off to, give it a go. So I bought a brand new PC, got my setup all the way I wanted it to, and decided to just give it a go. I had some help from some friends. A buddy of mine on Twitch, Hellfire Rush, decided to help me out
Nice.
and get my stream going. So we just started loading up. I mean, it was very basic at first. I mean, it's still a little basic, but we're working on it as we go along. But we just wanted to get on and just show basically poker content. We don't really have a, stitch yet. We don't really have our own flair yet. We're just showing our tables, explaining our hands, and just trying to give, good poker logic to the stream. Um, as we've been going along now, I'm trying to cut some jokes and be myself.
Yeah, good. That's good.
So we'll get a little more zany and more material as we go along. Kind of get past those little early jitters first. It doesn't hurt to get a 13K bink to kind of
Right, right,
ease
right,
those
right.
jitters. Like, hey, I'm not terrible. I kind of want a tournament, so you can watch me and not think that I'm telling you to make terrible plays.
What was the energy like though? What was it like having people in chat? I think I heard you say somewhere that like you got a big host from Crazy at one point. Like walk me through the
Yeah.
energy of like not just winning that event, but like winning that event with the stream, with the people in the stream, like what that experience was like.
So we had around 10 to 12, I think we peaked at like 15 viewers as we were playing. I had Deep Poker Pro in there, made him a mod, and he was giving me some Twitter loves to try and get some people in the stream.
Yeah.
So we were chilling around there. It was pretty much me, Deep Poker Pro. I think Ginger was in there. Um, who else was in there? Teddy KGB, shout out to him. He's been in my stream a lot since I started. Thanks for the support, Teddy. But then Crazy came in with the host for about 20 people, and it just got crazy after that. Crazy came in, so Chris B came in, and the chat just started getting fired up. I think K Max was in there. I mean, it started getting active in the chat. I was trying to keep up with chat, and I'm excited. Every little hand I was trying to explain. I felt funny, like making all these folds. Like these guys probably think I'm terrible at this. They think I'm such a nit. They think I'm being such a sissy right now. But I kept trying to explain I'm looking for my spot to get it in as good as I could,
Yeah.
and we wound up doing that. We one of the bigger hands I forgot to mention was we finally made our stand blind versus blind with like 12 left with king 9 off. We decided we couldn't fold king 9 off anymore. We had folded the big blind to the small blind, jamming on us enough. I knew he was wide enough to call easily with king 9. I just finally had like put my foot down, like, okay, this is our stand. If we lose here, we lose here, but this is definitely a profitable call. We're going to be ahead so often, and we're just going to trust it. So we called with the king 9. That got us a double, and that's where we took off from there.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, it's always fun when you start making a deep run and chat starts getting fired up and you can kind of feel that vibe and it's I mean, I feel like it's similar to like, when you're playing in a professional sport and the crowd start it's like having the home crowd advantage, you feed off that energy, you feed off that excitement. And it just makes the experience really, really cool. So it's really awesome that like that quick you were able to have one of those experiences. And I mean, we benefited from that in January, like when we made our deep run, and it was just like it's the same thing. It's like all it takes is one deep run, and like everything changes. People just start noticing. You get the word out, and they're like, oh man, we gotta see what this is all about. So really, really, really cool. So talk a little bit about you've talked about the turbos a little bit, and I know we've got people in our stream that enjoy the turbos. It's interesting. I coming back from Black Friday, I like just didn't play turbos because back in the day, like, you know, like pre Black Friday, like if you had a 40-50% ROI in regular tournaments, you were going to have like a 10 to 20% ROI in turbos. And so my thought was just like, well, I don't want to go play high variance poker when I can play low variance poker. And then it was just like for the last like 3 months, it's like all these people, like you're regularly beating turbos. Deuterino's beating them. Ginger's beating them. Like I'm seeing like 8 to 10 people I know just like constantly hit these turbos and hit big scores. And I'm like, you know, I always get to that point in the night and I'm struggling to find tournaments to play. And so, like, literally last week, I was just kind of like, all right, you guys have talked me into it. So I fire up like the $11 Turbo Mega on ACR. I fire up the $11 3K Turbo on Iggy. Final table both that night. And I'm like, and so it's interesting, like, as I'm playing through this and I'm seeing a lot of the fold equity and the spots, I'm almost wondering if, like, because I don't know. I was going back and forth. Like, maybe there's more wrecks in the turbos these days because people don't want to stay up playing until 3 a.m. and so the fields are actually softer. But it doesn't feel like a tournament that your ROI is way less than a regular. It feels like the ROI is similar. So I just kind of talk about your background, your experience in turbos. Obviously, you've had a ton of experience in them. We were joking on the Fortnite stream last night. We're like, Stealth is in the Stealth Invitational. Next thing I know, Deuterio's telling me, I don't know, would you win or finish second last night?
Uh, yeah, I shipped it last night
Yeah,
for 1100. So that
right.
was nice because on Saturdays it's a 4K instead of a 3K. So it's just, I think a lot of it goes back to the singles. When I was playing singles, I played regular speed for 10-minute blinds, and I also played 5-minute blinds. So you understand the value of your stack as you
Yeah.
continue to play these. And you hit it on the head actually. So many wrecks are in these turbos because it's gonna end quickly.
Mm.
You can get in the stealth special at 9 p.m. Central Standard. Yeah, that's my tournament. If you guys want to get in the 22 3K Mega, just avoid my table. That is my tournament. I have won that tournament 8 times, so that's my baby.
That's awesome.
Um, but you nailed it on the head. Like I said, so many people that work during the day maybe want to get on and play something. Are you gonna want to get into that like 2755K that starts at 8 o'clock? That's gonna last until 4 a.m.
Yeah, it goes
No,
late.
you're gonna want to get it. You're gonna want to get in that 22 3K turbo that's gonna end by like 130,
Yeah.
and you could possibly win, $8 to $1,000 in one game. So I think it's very heavy. Not to mention a lot of the regulars that are grinding all day might not want to fire that late at night. It's kind of a smaller guarantee. It's only 3K. They've been grinding all night. Maybe they don't want to jump in it. So I definitely think they're weaker fields.
So one of the adjustments, it's just a theory of mine. I'll be curious to hear since you've got so much experience with this. But one of the adjustments I tend to make in turbos is I feel like like the old school thought was like, right, once you get to like 10 to 15 bigs, you just got to jam, right? Like you got to get your stack in. You can't go below 10 big blinds. That's like a travesty, again, it's a lot of old school mentality. And at the time it was, to be fair, it was cutting edge, like good advice, but the game's always evolving. And like in turbo specifically, I feel like the average stack is so much lower because of the blind escalation that like having an 8 big blind stack in a turbo is nothing like having an 8 big blind stack in a regular tournament, especially like when the average stack is like 9 or 10 blinds. I mean, you can double from an 8 big blind stack and be like a top 10% stack and have like a stack that can go to the final table. So like I find myself like being willing to fold down to sometimes 5 big blinds, sometimes 4 big blinds, because the effective stack sizes are so much smaller, and I feel like it's okay. Whereas like blinding down to like 4 or 5 big blinds in a regular tournament generally is not a good idea. So like talk a little bit about that. Like do you kind of, are you adjusting how you view 5, 10, 15, 20 big blind stacks when you're playing turbo structures?
Absolutely. I mean, my entire jam range changes in a turbo as well. Even my open ranges are probably tighter in a turbo. I am finding spots where I'm just gonna basically get into a big pot. I'm probably like a 14, 12, 8 in a turbo while I'm like 24, 20, 12 in a regular tournament. So um you can pass up on spots, I think, in a turbo with stack sizes so short, so shallow. that you in a regular tournament that you're so deep in, the average chip stack is so deep that you have to accumulate chips,
Mm.
that you can actually skip a spot like that. Like say you have Jack 10 off on the cutoff with like 9 bigs. Maybe you skip that spot where in a deeper regular speed MTT, you're going to have to take that spot and hope you can accumulate some chips, because you're just not going to accumulate chips as easily in a regular speed MTT. That one bink, that one double up in a turbo, like you said, could get you to a top 10 stack, while you get that 9 big blind double up in a regular tournament. That's going to get you 18 big blinds and barely in the middle of the pack.
Right. So
So
go ahead.
I do tend to think I'm definitely tighter in turbos.
So two areas I'm really curious to hear you on. The first one is this: like, what do you do in spots where, like, say you're sitting on a 15 big blind stack, mid to late stages of the tournament, and you're at a table with a billion, reship stacks, right? Everybody's on a reship stack. Now I know you're saying like you open tighter, but like, are you in those spots? Do you have an opening range? Is it like, are you do you ever find yourself in spots where you're like, I just want to jam versus opening because I just know I'm going to get reshoved on so wide? Like how do you differentiate like your opening again, like when you're on a table where at any given moment anybody can shove, like how do you do, like, not get handcuffed, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So I think that's where if you're not using a HUD, this is where that HUD's gonna come in handy. You can look at players' tendencies and players' numbers, and even if they have that reship stack, if they're not a player that's prone to making that proper play, then I can have an open from 13 bigs. I am one of those weird players that will open fold with
Yeah,
13 bigs.
I learned that from Drew, so you
Yeah,
probably did too. Yeah, for sure.
depending. Oh, that's more of a sit and go thing. Like we were always opening really, really wide, in sit and goes to just take down that stack. But that was back in the day where people weren't defending their big blind as much.
Right.
But now I still think that comes in handy with people defending their big blind, because you're gonna have guys defending their big blind very wide, and instead of jamming the king nine off, maybe you can see a flop where you can possibly outplay people post flop. People are still exploitable post flop. That's where I think I've made my biggest advancements recently. Is I'm way more comfortable playing post flop, and I'm making better decisions. I'm thinking the hand out completely, where before I was just, okay, well, I'm just supposed to see bet. I'm going to see bet. Oh, they raised. I have no idea what I'm going to do now. So I think I have way more of a plan as I'm going into the hand. Before I even see bet, I've already thought about, okay, if he calls, am I already knowing I'm going to double barrel on XXX card,
Sure.
whatever it might be. But yeah, I think as a baseline, in a if I have 15 bigs and I'm on the cutoff, and there's 3 reship stacks to the left of me, depending on the players, if I have 3 good, let's say I got you, Killingbird, and Drew in the button, small blind, and big blind, I'm just gonna jam King 9 off, because
Right.
you guys are gonna jam on me way too often, and if I'm not gonna jam, I'm just gonna fold. It depends on what I'm gonna do. But 15 big blinds with King 9 against 3 players like that, like the 3 of you, I'm gonna have to open jam and hope you guys don't have a good enough hand to call it off. You're not gonna want to call off a lot of times 15 big blinds with 3s, but if I min open, you guys might find a 3-bet jam where I can't call with King 9, where I would have had a flip.
Right. Yeah, it's
So
harder to realize your equity.
it's basically all player dependent. You really have to be paying attention to the table, or have a good understanding of your HUD. I have my HUD set up. I have the Drew HUD that I got from him. I've made just a few adjustments to it,
Right.
where I have the VPIP, the pre-flop raise, the 3-bet, and the fold to 3-bet right there on the screen as I'm playing the entire time. So I can see how often someone's 3-betting. And if I just don't think they're 3-betting enough and I can sneak an open by, I don't mind opening with 11 big blinds. I mean, that getting that open through with 11 bigs is going to be such a big effect on my stack, more of an effect on my stack than I think losing that 2 blinds is. So
Yeah.
I'd like to take those spots, not to mention it sets up your big hands. I know it seems like people have strayed away from the whole, oh, I've got 12 bigs. If I limp here, I mean, if I min raise here, it's gonna look like I always have aces. Well, some players do still play like that, but I think when people play against me, they have to realize that sometimes I might not have aces or kings. I might not have the top of my range. I might have 6-7 suited that I just don't want to jam. I don't want to just fold. I might want to try to steal a couple chips. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. It all depends on the situations, the players. That's why poker is such an amazing game. That's why we all love it so much.
Hmm.
It constantly has you thinking. It constantly has you adjusting and getting better. And that's just, it makes for good poker as you continue to learn, and all of us learn together. Like I'm interested to see how this is going to change in the time coming. Like if there's going to be any huge changes to the way people play the big blind. I mean, before nobody defended the big blind. Now everyone defends the big blind. Now maybe people are defending the big blind too much. So it's interesting to see how poker evolves over and over and over time.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, and it's always fun. Like Stas was talking a little bit yesterday about how him and his friend will kind of go and study what the new trends are and what everybody's teaching, so that they can come up with their own counters to it, and that's like a part I haven't gotten to that level yet, because I mean, like you, I'm still like growing the stream, I'm still like getting my game set up, my bankroll, like there's a lot of things going on that I just haven't been in the position to do it. But there's some intrigue and some excitement about getting to that point where it's like, oh well, everybody's defending the big blind real wide, and so what's the adjustment to that? Well, now like we're all c betting at a way higher frequency against small blind and big blind because they're just calling way too often and they have to fold too often. And so now it brings the next level of like, well, we know people are c betting way too often against big blind defends. Do we raise our check raise? Like, and like like just getting ahead of the trend is so sexy. And like I'm like, it's hard for me not to rush through some of the processes I need to go through because I want to get to that point of doing that. My second turbo question for you would be this then, and this is I'm really curious to hear this. So usually what happens is you play through a turbo, you go, you get your fold equity, you win your couple of your doubles, you get some guys to shove 50 bigs when we're still deep with pocket twos because they're panicking into your like tens, and all of a sudden you're sitting on a chip lead, you work it into the final table, then you get to a final table and like it's like 7 big blind stack, 8, 8, 6, 9, 12, 9, 8, 7, and you have like 11, right? Normal final tables, you usually have, maybe 1 or 2 chip leaders, you've got 2 or 3 people with that mid tier, you've got some short stacks, and so the ICM implications are somewhat, I don't want to say obvious, because some people don't understand ICM, but like if you have an understanding of ICM, you have a basic understanding that, when you're third in chips, you don't want to punt your stack off to the chip leader when there's 4 guys at the final table with 6 big blinds, right? Like, there's some concepts there. But when you get to a turbo final table and it's really, really flat, and you get there and like 9th place is like $48 or $100, right? And first place is $1,100, and everybody's sitting on those, 7 to 11 big blind stacks. How on earth do you navigate that from an ICM perspective? Like, how do you decide at what point you're okay flipping, at what point you're okay getting an 80-20? Like, are you looking at it long term and just deciding like at this point I'm just going to play my best poker and whatever happens? Or are you like, a friend of mine was always like, he had this fold to the 6th rule where he would just fold until the top 6 and then he would go crazy. Like, how do you, I know there's a lot of different schools of thought. So how do you navigate that? Understand, we both understand ICM. How the heck do you navigate that and bring yourself through that process, as these stacks are constantly changing and they're so short?
All right. Hey, what's up, Haitian? Nice to see you, man. So I think you still play the final table as you would any final table. You want to get a good feel for who you think at the table is going to understand ICM. Understanding ICM is such a underrated value at a final table. It's crazy. You want to, I mean, do you want to avoid people? No, but you want to avoid that one maniac that obviously doesn't understand what he's doing. He's opening every pot. Maybe you take an ICM spot that you normally wouldn't against him. He's opening every pot. Maybe you jam tens that maybe you would fold because you're sitting 3 of 9 and he's in 4th and he's going to cripple you if he wins. So I think you just find your best. You gotta take your best spots always, even with ICM, unless it's just like a huge ICM implication, like somebody's sitting with 1 big, you got some maniac jamming 15 bigs, and you got 5, and you've got 9s, which is such an easy snap call. But that 1 big blind is almost guaranteed money, and you might just have to find a fold. Some people just don't want to fold there. Some people don't want to fold ace 7 to button open because I think it's sometimes just a pride things. It's okay to fold, guys. So
Hmm.
there's no shame in folding. We can fold and find a better spot. If somebody's gonna hang, sometimes the way I think about it is if you're walking down the street and you see a $20 bill on the floor, are you gonna pick it? Are you gonna stop and pick it up? Or are you gonna walk past it because you're trying to, catch your wife who's up in front or something? I don't know what's in front of you, but you're trying to get to something, but you see a $20 bill on the floor. I'm pretty sure like 95% of us are gonna stop and pick up that $20 bill.
Yeah.
So let that one big blind be your $20 bill that you pick up really quick, and then you move on from there. But you want to find your best spots. You're obviously never going to fold queens, kings, aces unless the situation warrants it. I mean, you want to be very aware of what the situation is, what's your best play at the time, and you just take it from there. Always trust your instincts.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of us as poker players have pretty solid instincts. When you think something's the proper call, you should just make the call. If you're not sure, if you have that slight doubt in your mind, there's nothing wrong with folding and waiting for you to have that moment where you're like, I know I'm supposed to get it in here. I'm going to call, win or lose. I know I made the right play.
That's really good advice. Yeah, there's nothing worse than busting a tournament and spending the next, 3 days like second guessing yourself and doubting it. I know some of those times are inevitable, but I like that. I like that advice. And let's be honest, like especially in a turbo format, you're never out of it, right? Like the turbo mega on
Never.
ACR. I'm sitting here on stream, and I don't even remember. I think it was an 80-20 or a flip. I lost something, but I had like 600 chips at like 4K, 8K or something crazy. And within like 2 orbits, I was like third in chips with like 200K. Like, it was just insane. Like I tripled up 3 times in a row, and then I got a key double, and then I got a fold, then I got another double. Like it's just unbelievable how quickly you can spin up a stack in those things. So like if you have to fold for a little while and you get that pay jump, like it's not like you've cost yourself the tournament. Again, it's very different than when you're in a regular structure and you're playing against a guy who has a 60 big blinds and he can just put relentless pressure on you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that a lot. So here you are, right? You started this stream. You've had some cool success with it. You've had this little month-long hiatus from work, which is really cool, by the way. And obviously that's been successful, right? Like you've had success with that.
Yeah.
Is there a part of you that, as you're looking to the future, says, this could be my full-time gig? Like, is that a goal? Or because I've talked to poker players that are in both fronts, and I'm always admiring both. Like, there's some people that are like, I've got my work grind, I've got my poker grind. That's not changing. I love what I do at work. I love doing my poker. There's people that are like, man, the day that I can play poker for a living is like that's my dream. It's like my retirement, my career. So like, what about you? Like, where are you at on that whole thing? What do you think? Is that in the cards for
I
you at
mean,
some point?
I hope it's in the cards. I mean, that's my dream. That's my nut job. Is to just be at home, grinding, streaming maybe. I love poker. I could play poker literally all day. I could play from the time I wake up to I fall asleep. Realistically, um, I'm a father. I have 2 children, 2 beautiful children. I put everything for them ahead of anything. So
Sure.
would I love to be a poker player? I'd love to. Full time, yes. And where it's different for me, I don't enjoy my daytime job. I really don't. I'm not a fan of it. Uh, but I've got kids. I want to have them secure to go to college and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
So I might be for a good while here still on the 2 work grind. I could go to my day job. I only work mornings. So I work from like 8 a.m. to about 5. I can get home by 6, maybe get a somewhat solid poker grinding. And that's where the stealth special came into mind because I was one of those people getting home at 6:30, have dinner, play with the kids, and at 9 p.m. there's that still special, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh well, I can play this, be done by 1, get a couple of hours of sleep before I have to go back to work. So
Yeah.
in the cards, I hope one day it's in there. We took the month off. We're up a little bit. We're pretty comfortable. We're where we are. Um, I would like to see more extended success in my poker career
Hmm.
to make that kind of jump
Yeah.
where I mean, because let's be honest, I could go on a 5K downswing starting today. You never know.
Yeah.
We all know it could happen. That check at work is always going to be guaranteed. And I have no problem working hard so that I can support my family. So right now, I still have a couple weeks off. I'm gonna continue to grind unless something significant happens. Like unless I ship the millie, I'm probably gonna be at work in a couple weeks,
Yeah.
and I'll still be coming home afterwards. Get my poker grind on afterwards. So we might be doing the dual grind for a while. But in an ideal world, soon, hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll be grinding full time. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean it's always super admirable. I think a lot of the streams people talk about family first, and yesterday I had a question for Snost that I had pre-planned where I was going to ask about his downswings because I know I see it all the time. Like people are like, oh, Snost is always crushing, and I'll never forget after he had that 55K score, people were like pissing and moaning that he didn't do some like $1,000 giveaway, in his stream, and I'm like, first off, like, dude, like he doesn't owe you anything, right? Like that's number one. But number two, like you guys act like he's just like 155K and like he's just like a millionaire, like nobody was
Yeah.
invested in it, and nobody had action, and nobody, like he didn't have any makeup or markup or like like people just like they're so naive to the fact that yeah, good scores are great, but what about the times where you don't? And so I wanted to ask him about his downswings because I wanted to, I figured like we're gonna get a, yeah, I go through a 3 or 4 week downswing from time to time. And like he's on the stream and he's like, yeah, he's like pretty much about once a year. Like every year we have about 1 6-month stretch where we have a 6-month downswing. And I was just floored because I'm like if I went through a 6-month downswing, like I don't know that I would like emotionally survive poker. Like I've been through a lot in poker, and I take some extraordinary steps in what games I play, my game selection, everything to try and ensure that I'm never in that spot. Obviously I'm not playing all of the high roller stuff. I mean, the higher you play, obviously the more variance there is and everything. But I was floored. Like I had no idea that it was that incredible, and like it was totally amazeballs to me that was his answer, and so there's definitely when you make that jump, there definitely can be some challenges. Some of the fun of poker can disappear because now you're what was a hobby or what was for fun or what didn't have the pressure of like, hey, I'm playing with the dinner money, like now all that extra pressure's there and it takes a lot of the fun out of it. But dude, like you obviously have a really strong foundation. You're in a good spot. You have a really great knowledge of the game, and so I have no doubt that if and when that time comes, you're gonna make the jump at the right time. And we're still too. I think it's fair to say that we're still in a place with the poker environment, like with regulation and everything, where like I mean it could still go away. Like I don't think we wake up in the morning like instantly panicking that poker's going to be gone, but like I think we both know from past experience of being around, there's no guarantees that we're going to have it forever, and so that always has to be in the back of your mind too. I do think, and I mean I don't know what your thoughts are on how much you follow this. I do think that man, if I don't stop getting overcards every time I get queens here, I do think that I do think that the landscape is really promising for Illinois here in the coming months. I don't know if you've been following, but there's going to be a couple hearings coming up. The neighboring states are all starting to pass it. And so like there's pressure, like we don't want to lose people to, Indiana and Michigan and everything else. So I feel like it's coming, but yeah, like you got to time it right, and your priorities are in a great spot. I know. So we both have come from Drew. Like that's where we both started in our coaching realm in terms of like the modern day era and whatever. And one of the things I know Drew is passionate about, and I don't know if he's talked to you about it specifically, but he's a huge fan of when you decide that you want to take poker seriously as a career and you like getting to this level where you want to play regularly and make good money at it. It's not just a hobby. Of this kind of like up and down approach where like you should be, should have someone above you that you're like learning from. You should have somebody laterally you're learning with, and you should have somebody below you that you're pouring into and teaching. And so he's a huge advocate of that. Are there thoughts from you about getting into the coaching realm, teaching people turbos, teaching people sit and go, teaching people MTT poker? Is that part of your plans for the future or even in the present?
I don't know if it's as much as a plan. I am very much an advocate for if you ask me for a hand, I'm going to give it to you. So if somebody asks me for help in anything, poker, life, anything, I'm always going to offer a helping hand. My buddy, one of my best friends, kind of like my cousin, he's expressed interest into getting into poker. I've worked with him a little bit. He's progressing slowly. I've talked to actually once before, Ship Don't Die.
Mm.
about maybe so that would be maybe that lateral you were talking about maybe having some review sessions together where Ship Don't
Nice.
Die. I believe Ship Don't Die has a lot of talent, and I feel like he has some things he can offer me, and I feel like I have a few things that I can offer to him.
For sure.
So, and then above me, I have definitely thought about getting coaching from Snost. I hear he's highly recommended. I feel that there's probably some things that he can definitely help me with. So, as far as coaching, like, do I intend like as part of my stream, like, hey, I'm gonna do a weekly history review like some of the other streamers do? Probably not. I mean, I can offer it and see if there's actually some interest. I don't think I'm at the level yet where some of the rest of you are, where you're so confident in relaying the information that comes so easily to you to someone else. So
Gotcha.
I think that's where I kind of like pump the brakes a little bit. Like, okay, in this spot, I know exactly what I want to do and I know how to make it trigger in my mind.
Hmm.
But am I gonna know how to explain that and get that to be understood by someone else in their mind? Because they might not have the same understanding as I do.
Sure.
So it's definitely something I will think about and have considered. And if there is an interest for it, I have no problem taking the time to uh, offer up some services or even just meet with people and make that part of my stream. Maybe that is an option to make a hand history review just so I can get in more touch with my squad, as I call them, for the stealth squad.
Nice. I like that. I think definitely just listening to you talk about your turbo approach and how you approach hands and situations. I think at the very least, I think that's an area that you can't really find coaching, or at least I haven't seen a lot of talk about coaching about. Like, I think that's definitely an area that you could definitely have some major success in, and you articulated it well here. Maybe it's a different when you get in a one-on-one environment or whatnot, but I think you articulated it well. And I definitely think there was some really good stuff that came out of that. So yeah, I'd be cool to see that. At least on the turbo realm or the sit and go realm coming out would be really awesome. What are your goals, like long term goals for the stream? As you're looking long term and you're looking at the stream and where you want it to be, the stealth squad, all that. Like, just kind of talk about like where where do you want to be a year from now or 2 years from now? Like, what are your long term goals of what you want to accomplish?
Okay, so that's funny because while I started, I'm thinking, year from now, maybe I'll get affiliate and get, my own emotes and all that. And it happened like so quick. I didn't even know how to respond. I made some of the quickest emotes ever because I was stunned that it happened that quickly.
Yeah.
So a year from now with the stream, I mean, I guess we're just gonna wait and let time tell because I've been saying I was gonna stream for years and I never got it going. I just got it going. I have so much to learn when it comes to streaming and using OBS and computers in general. For some reason, I'm not very computer savvy. I can play poker on a computer, but besides that, pretty much a noob when it comes to the computer.
Mm.
So I have some advancing to do there, but I said it on my stream. Like, just so much mad respect goes to people like you, GBT, Snos, Vanessa Cade, everybody that streams. I mean, just much respect. It is so much harder than
Hmm.
I thought it would be, and then I think anybody can ever understand unless you actually stream.
Mm.
It's so much work. I think people get the perception that you guys just, I flick a button, hey, I'm live, come and watch me play. No, it's not that simple. A lot of time preparation goes into this. And I know you especially. Your stream, by the way, shout out to Poker Pastor, man. Your stream is insanely good.
Appreciate it.
I get great enjoyment on watching your stream. So big shout out to you.
I appreciate it. I think if I could offer you one word of advice, it'd be this: like, you just don't know um, when those days are coming. Like, we were streaming 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. It was like late in the night. I'm down to like my final two tournaments, and somebody said something about Doug Polk, and I was like, that's weird. And then my chat just started scrolling so fast I couldn't read it, and I was like, what is going on? Like, and I look up and we had gotten like 1,000 person host from Doug Polk out of nowhere, and now I'm like, oh crap, like I gotta like fire like a million like tournaments up, and I'm like freaking out, like, and it's the thing, like with the stream, like you can go through these times where like you'll just plateau and you'll have your 10 or your 20 or your 30, and it'll just feel like you're not getting anywhere, and then all of a sudden you'll have that deep run, that OSS bink, you'll get some big 500 person host from somebody, you know, in the Poker Stars world, and things just blow up, you know. And so it's again, it's a lot like poker, right? It's gonna be a lot of this, and then whew, you just take off, and then it keeled for a while, and then it takes off, and so like just be ready, always be ready, and always be prepared. In fact, I've even got a I've been making these shout out videos to, I don't have one for you yet because you haven't recorded a stream. When you get to a stream, man, I'm gonna have a shout out video for you. You ever come in with a host,
right.
like I'm gonna show it and rep your stream and everything. But I've got one for Doug Polk, I've got one for Lex, I've got one for Staples. Do I expect Doug Polk to host me a second time, or for Matt Staples to ever host me, or Lex? No, like I don't think those things are realistically ever gonna happen. But if they do, I want to be ready, man. I want to be ready to go, and you just don't know. So like that would be my like my one, like the thing I've learned, and I'm continuing to apply. But you know, like I as I've been interviewing streamers, like, and we're talking about this, I'm just like, the biggest thing is just be yourself. Like, don't try to be Lex. Don't try to be Kevin Martin. Don't try to be me, for crying out loud. Like, just be yourself. Be original. Know that you're enough, right? Like, know that who you are is good enough to be entertaining, good enough to be wanted to be watched, good enough to be learned from, and have that confidence and hold on to it, because you definitely will go through times where that confidence will be tested again, just like poker. You said it so well, like, and we talked about this with Snoss yesterday, these times where it's like you go through a bad downswing and you're just like, you're second guessing everything, and am I good at this game, you know, do I suck at poker, like was it all just luck, you know? Like, I think everybody faces those demons, as Snoss was saying. And it's the same with streaming, and like you can get caught up in this, like, I gotta be like, you know, KB, and I gotta have all this cool beer knowledge, and he makes poker so enjoyable, and you know, like, he's good at poker, but he can just carry a conversation for her. Or I gotta be like Drew, man, I gotta have this Caliplex, and I gotta have this vibe, you know, like, and like this alternate reality to the stream that people just are dying to be a part of. Or I gotta be like Snost and, you know, cash for 50K every other week, right? Like, you know, like you just
some of us can't do that.
Right, you get into the comparison game, and you lose the most valuable part of your stream, which is who you are, you know. And I love that you've got this turbo background, you got this SNG background, and there's definitely a confidence to you when you're talking about like the way you approach games and how you do things. And so, man, you hold on to that, you're gonna be fine, you know. Like, there's gonna be lulls, there's gonna be those frustrating times where you hit the button and there's 6 people in the stream and you're like, why am I doing this crap, right? But there's also gonna be those times where that big host comes in and it's gonna be like, all right, man, let's go, let's get the stealth squad going, let's get up in here, and it will absolutely pay off. So I've no doubt you're gonna be successful, and I'm really excited. I was pumped when I heard you were streaming. I still remember the day that you got on with Drew for the stream. I didn't think it was ever gonna happen, because he messaged me at like 2 PM, in typical Drew style. It took him like 8.5 hours to get the stream where he wanted it, you know, before he was finally ready to click the button. I think we were in a chat with him for a good hour and a half before the stream kicked off. But that was a really wonderful time. I enjoyed that. It was fun hanging out with you. So when I heard you were streaming, I was super pumped. You were definitely a guy I wanted to get on here. Talk about your schedule. Like, what, you know, I think people are pretty amped. They're hearing some cool stuff coming from you. Obviously, there's going to be some great content. Like, what are good times for people to see you stream, to be in your stream? Like, give us an idea kind of what your typical stream schedule is like.
So as of right now, we like the early grind when kind of all the bigger streamers are off. So we do get up around 8, 9. We get our kids off, you know, fed, get them situated, and then sometimes we toss on the stream early morning, because we play the early special 5K a lot. We normally play that every day. So we kind of have this like morning, like 9 to 3 kind of grind, and then we have our late. We're almost always going to be streaming the stealth special. That's our baby. We're gonna be doing giveaways, letting people play in there with us. So that's gonna be one of my things, where I'm gonna want to get people in the stealth special with us to get in there and do battle. Maybe get a big bink in the 22 mega. So it'll be a lot of Monday through Friday. I'm gonna be streaming a lot. I'm gonna really, if I'm gonna go after this, I'm gonna go hard.
Nice.
So there might be weeks where I stream 7 days a week. There might be weeks where I take like 3-4 days off. But I'll always update my Twitter. Anybody that's not following me on Twitter, at WDStealth on Twitter, at WDStealth Poker on Instagram. In case you want to follow me there, I always put up updates. But the grind's gonna be hard. I'm gonna go hard. So I hope that people are ready to hang out and have some fun in the stream.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. I am seriously considering, as I'm talking with my team, about like at least once a week bringing people on to continue talking about poker. I think this format is really cool. I think people are getting a lot out of it. And I'm a huge believer that as we all work together to like make the whole Twitch poker scene better, we're all going to win. Like, I am not in the camp of like, we're all, I mean, yeah, technically we're all competing. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, like, you being successful, Dog Wisdom, KB, Snoss, people that are like people above. It's same with the poker thing, right? When people that are bigger streamers than me are successful, it's gonna pay off when it trickles down and we get hosts and everything else. When people lateral to me are successful, it's gonna be better because we're gonna learn from each other. We're gonna have those conversations. Like, we're gonna collectively improve our streams. And when people like that have smaller streams are getting started successful, it brings people in, it brings new people in, and it brings people up with us. And so like, I just feel like it's a win-win-win. So I'm never in the camp of like, oh my gosh, if I promote so-and-so's stream, like I don't even mind. Like, half the time, like I'll see somebody goes live on my phone. That's why sometimes I'm doing this. I'm like, oh, somebody went live, you know, and I was like, hey man, so-and-so just went live, check them out, you know, because I just think the more people have fun in this community as a whole, the more they're going to be around, the more they're going to be in Twitch poker as a whole. And it's going to bring some of those 2 million poker fans, or probably it's even more than that now in the United States, who don't even know about Twitch poker into the game. So hopefully, you know, as we continue doing some of these interviews and stuff, we can bring you in again, you know, from time to time. And, you know,
absolutely.
maybe a couple times a year, we can just come in and have some advanced turbo strategy, or we can talk some sit and goes, or God, hopefully, you know, a year or two from now, we're sitting here on a stream together talking about how to crush spin and goes on PokerStars. That would be
that would be ideal.
I mean, you can talk. You said it earlier. I feel like Illinois is on their way. We're gonna be getting there soon.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, awesome Stealth. Hey, I got a question for you. I shouldn't ask you this on Killing Bird dropping the biddies in chat. Thank you so much, KB. I don't not try to put you on the spot here, but I would have preferred to had like 100 people in here to hear this interview with you. You mind if we post this on YouTube so we can get it out there and get some word out there about it? Cool. Well, we'll get this.
I appreciate that. That's awesome.
We'll get this up on YouTube. We'll get it tweeted out so that people that missed it or that are still sleeping in, you know, over there, especially on the West Coast, can check it out. But thanks so much again, Stealth, for coming on. I have nothing but wishing the best luck for you at the stream and everything. And I look forward to, after this marathon's over, coming over and checking it out myself.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, Poker Pastor. You're great for the community, man. We appreciate everything you're doing.
All right, man. We'll talk soon, buddy. Have a good Sunday.
Yes, thank you. Everybody run deep. I'll see you guys at the tables.
All right, that's our man, WDStealth. Another awesome, fun interview. I'm having a lot of fun doing these and having some conversations with these guys. A lot of great people in poker. Where did my music go? Let me see if I can get my music back here. That was really, really cool. Good stuff. So, again, he is over at twitch.tv/WDStealth. Go give him a follow. Go give him a follow on Twitter and on Twitch. Yeah, for sure, Cha. I totally agree. Like, it's a lot of fun. I think we can continue to just again make a cool impact by